Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you please take your seats, we're going to call the Southern University Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We will now recognize Dr. Talbot for our invocation.
Let us pray. God our Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your presence among us, for the promises that you have given to us, and for the power that is available to us in your name. We thank you for safe travel to this historic university and for the opportunity to serve in making a difference in the lives of young people and people not only in this country but around the world. And as we come now, we pray for our students, for their safety as they matriculate here at this grand old university. We pray your blessing upon this board of supervisors, our faculty, staff, and upon our president. We pray that you grant him wisdom along with the chancellors as they lead this university to helping to educate people and give them skills that they will be able to take care of themselves and their families. We take a moment to pray your healing power upon our nation and our world as it relates to COVID-19. For we believe there is nothing that is too hard for you. And so we pray as doctors and scientists and government leaders converse that they will come up with solutions that will lead to a remedy to this challenge. Bless the families that have been affected by hurricanes and natural disasters around this country and even this world. Guide us in these deliberations that we give glory to you in our work. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We now will recognize Ms. Michaela Boudreau from the Southern University Laboratory School, who will provide us with our Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself, Ms. Boudreau. If you'll just wait a second, we recognize Dr. Whitfield, who will introduce you. You can stay right there, though. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm proud to introduce the reigning Miss Southern High, Michaela Boudreau, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Michaela is a 12th grade student at Southern University Laboratory School, maintaining a 4.33 GPA. She has been attending our laboratory school since pre-K. While cheering, she is in the History Club, Beta Club, and Theater Club. She plans to attend Southern University to major in engineering. Michaela is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Boudreau, and Mrs. Boudreau is a proud graduate of Southern University. And if I'm correct, I think, Michaela, your mother drives from New Roads to bring you guys to school, 4 children. And so we're very honored to have you. And if you can proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance, thank you.
Or in person. The next public comment is received via email, is from a Keely Pig. And I apologize if I mispronounced the name. This is a student from the Law Center. The comment is as follows. The $100 charge per credit hour distance learning fee that is being proposed is uncalled for. It might not affect me, for I am an in-person student. However, if the pandemic continues to get worse, we might not be given the choice to be in person. Therefore, to punish us with the fee for something that is clearly out of our control is outrageous. Further, Zoom is a free platform that classes are conducted through. I would like to know why it is more expensive to be in a virtual learning environment versus an in-person environment. Now that concludes the comments that I received electronically. I will open the floor now for any public comments in person.
state my name. I'm Dr. Albert Samuels, Chair of the Department of Political Science, and I was President of the Faculty Senate. I want to draw attention very quickly to item C under the action items, on the section action 8, where we request approval for faculty tenure promotions. I want to urge this board to adopt these recommendations for the 2019-2020 year. I do, however, want to highlight that the normal process is one in which the tenure promotion applications are should have been done to the board in April of the year. So the SUBR is well behind, and to some degree, the administration has said that it was because of COVID that we were behind in getting the nominations to you, but actually they were due before that. I'd like to remind this board that SUNO was able to get their tenure promotion applications in April of 2020 at their board meeting, and at that time, New Orleans was in a much more severe COVID situation than the Baton Rouge campus was. And the reason why I bring this up is because there are individuals in the 2019-2020 cycle who have just been informed that they were denied, but the process is many months behind schedule, and so so if you get appeals in the next couple of months, that is part of the reason that you will be getting those appeals, at least from a process standpoint. And so part of the harm is not only will people have been denied in the last cycle, but the way the process works is that the time to apply is September 15th. So they would have been informed that they were denied after they could have applied this cycle as well. So I want you to be aware of that. So from a process standpoint, I understand that the tenure promotion applications and promotions should get to the board in April of every year. And when they get to the board, the process is they should have already exhausted all of their administrative remedies, so that your job will be simply to recommend or not recommend the recommendations. So I just want you to understand it just from a process standpoint. So if you get appeals within the next couple of months from people who said they were denied, that's the reason why, that's one of the reasons why that's happening.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. Are there any other public comments? Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, it's my understanding, Dr. Samuels, that Dr. Belton has been in extensive discussions with the leadership of the Faculty Senate about this matter. And it's my understanding also he plans to work collaboratively with you all to address any concerns that may emerge going forward, and particularly those that you've highlighted here this morning. We go now to item 6, our above and beyond award. Chancellor Pierre.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And this morning, I'm proud to present to the Southern University Board of Supervisors a man who has worked tirelessly since he has come to the Southern University Law Center in ways to bring students to Southern University Law Center and the Southern University. And he does it way above and beyond what his regular duties are. He's taken it on as a calling, and that is Professor Michael Gerard. Professor Gerard started a process, and he picked up something that I used to do, because he wanted to know how did I get students from different places to come to Southern University Law Center. And I said, I just pick up the phone and I call them. I call them at night. I was here in the evening. I'd call them at night. We'd have conversations. So he says, I'm going to try that. And he did. But he took it to a whole nother level. He called students day and night, wherever they were. He would get lists from students who took the LSAT. He would start advising students on career paths. He started working with college students and getting them to come to the Law Center. He even started working with some high school students to get them to come to Southern. And he developed a very elaborate program. And during the time when enrollments across the country were going down, Southern University's Law Center's enrollment did not go down, and it has expanded and exploded. He also created a diversity and inclusion committee, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and now has basically created a situation where universities that are looking for diversity, equity, and inclusion come to the Law Center trying to find that talent, trying to find folks that can run those kind of programs. Professor Gerard works tirelessly. He really works 7 days a week. He gets on Zoom calls on Saturdays and Sundays, talks to students from everywhere across the country. And he is an extremely valuable asset in terms of helping us. And you heard me earlier this year, or a few months ago, talk about the record enrollment that we have here at Southern University Law Center. And that could not have been possible without Professor Gerard making those calls. In fact, when we started asking what was the difference between students making the choices, it was because he made those calls, he sent those emails, he sent profiles. We got to know so much about the students before they even applied. So the students were always amazed about how much we knew about them, because he had set up an elaborate system for us to be able to know who those students are. And it's really interesting because Professor Gerard and I met about a little over 20 years ago, but we were on opposite ends of what was then the longest running school desegregation case in the United States. He was representing the school district and I was representing the NAACP local branch. And you could not have made me think some 20 years later the roles that we would be playing and how we would be working together in ways, and I think it requires us to acknowledge him with the Above and Beyond Award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Gerard. Would you like to have a word?
Well, I would. The Chancellor asked me to come today. Of course, he didn't tell me what this was about, and but thank you very much. It's certainly been my honor and my privilege to work at the law school, and you know, one of the blessings is just to get to work with so many great young people that we have here at Southern and at the Southern University Law Center. So, thank you very much, Chancellor Pierre. Thank you, members of the board. Again, it's certainly my honor and privilege to be associated with this great institution.
Thank you. And if you'll come, and Chancellor Pierre, and join us, why don't you also come and join us, Mr. Garvey, as SBA president? Yes, and Shorty, whomever else would like to join. Professor Gerard, I want you to know that you were in good company, because I was also on the other side of John in that litigation. And I got to know him as a partner at Keene Miller when he was representing the school system, of which I was general counsel. And I want to echo briefly what Chancellor Pierre has said, because I've been on the receiving end of a number of emails where he has chronicled his engagement with students all across the country. If you give him a name and a telephone number, it's like a bill collector. They will be contacted over and over again, and I think the growth that we're seeing at the Law Center is a team effort, obviously, but certainly Professor Gerard has contributed significantly to that. And so on behalf of the Southern University Board of Supervisors and our entire system, we want to present you with this plaque. and a certificate of appreciation in appreciative acknowledgement of your work and going above and beyond. Thank you. Anybody who wanted to join us can certainly come. Anybody. We need to get the picture taken so we can get on with the agenda. Yes, please come on. Yeah. Thank you again, and congratulations to Professor Gerard. We have some very brief presentations today regarding both the Microsoft Corporation on behalf of SUBR, which will be facilitated by Dr. Katara Williams, followed by presentation or comments regarding the Verizon contribution to SUBR and the Law Center by Chancellor Pierre. Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to all the members who are assembled. I am pleased to announce 2 gifts that have been awarded by 2 major corporations, totaling approximately $250,000. Southern University at Baton Rouge received $30,000 for student scholarships from Verizon Corporation. The Law Center received $20,000, and Chancellor Pierre will talk momentarily about what that money will be received for. And this donation was made possible through the assistance of the Vice President of Governmental Affairs, who's also a Southern University at Baton Rouge, Southern University Law Center alum, Attorney April Brumfield, who could unfortunately not be here with us today. I'm equally as excited to announce the Microsoft Impact Award, which has been granted to the College of Sciences and Engineering in the amount of $200,000. This will be used to enhance the computer and engineering and big data education. And the goal, of course, of this project is to empower underrepresented minorities to confront the challenges relative to science and engineering and data-enabled science. So a huge thanks to Verizon and Microsoft, especially to Dr. Alex Appening and his team, who were very instrumental in helping us to secure these funds. And I will yield to Chancellor Pierre at this time.
Again, good morning. We're very appreciative of the work of April Broomfield in bringing us this gift and grant. We will be using it for 2 purposes: our Southern University Law Center Technology and Entrepreneurship Legal Clinic and Lewis A. Berry Civil Rights and Justice Institute. So those are 2 very great programs that we have, and Verizon recognized them, and we're very thankful for the gift.
All righty, thank you very much. We will go now to some action items, and members, I beg your indulgence. We're going to try to take some of these items, many of these items up in Globo, but to the extent we do adopt an item in Globo, or when the motion is made, if there are questions or concerns, we will certainly address them for any of the items that we adopt in Globo. So I want you to know that if you've got concerns or questions about any item that's on here that we're going to try to do in Globo, we will stop to facilitate those questions. So the chair will entertain a motion to adopt items A through E. Motion. A through E. It's been moved by Mr. McGee. Is there a second? Ms. Williams, that we adopt items A through E. Are there any questions, concerns, regarding any of the items in A through E. Mr. Gillum.
Mr. Chairman, just item, what's it, 8E, I believe, if you would, let's take this off.
Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification. I fully support this, first of all. It's relative to the Connect enrollment. Fully support it, but I have about 2 points of clarification, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask of the administration from the Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and New Orleans campuses. My concern is that, of course, I want to make sure that this particular program is going to be mutually advantageous to all of the campuses involved. And especially, I want to make sure that it is especially advantageous to the students who are going to be served by it. My question would be, first of all, what would be the revenue sharing scheme? Mr. President, Dr. Soha, Dr. Ammons, Dr. Ellis, and so I'd like to see indeed where the FTEs are going to go, because that's where the revenue stream is going to evidence itself. And lastly, of course, making the observation, as I read this very good report, I mean, it's very detailed, Mr. Chairman, but as I look at it, this is going to be a pretty heavy logistical lift in terms of making it work on all 3 campuses. The young lady, I believe, who was over this for the Shreveport campus, Dr. Ellis, Professor Leggett, has since resigned or retired. And of course, we need to know who the person is going to be. You know, this is not the kind of program where you want to fit somebody that didn't fit somewhere else. You're just trying to find somewhere to put them. This needs to be somebody who is especially sensitive to, passionate about making this program work for the benefit of students. And on the host campuses, and I'm going to cut this short because I got a vested interest in getting out of here, as you know, Mr. President. I got a 5-hour drive. The idea is, are there going to be adequate student support services on the Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Shreveport campuses for these students? Adequate advisement, adequate counseling, other student support services. That's the extent of my observation, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. You called several names. Since it's a Sussler related, I think we should go to Dr. Ellis. Is that okay with you, Dr. Belton? Yes. Okay, all right.
Thank you and good morning again. Just clarification on what these items are. We typically try to look at each of these agreements on an annual basis, and so with the Sussler agreement, we simply made a minor modification to the cross-enrollment section to clarify and make that section a little bit more broad. With the cross-enrollment agreement, this was an initial agreement that I believe was signed back in 2010 when I believe Cassie Freeman was the president of the system. To my knowledge, it had not been reviewed since that time. So in reviewing the Connect agreement, we took upon ourselves the opportunity to review the cross-enrollment agreement that was put in place at that time. So as far as revenue, as some of you may know, there's a Connect fee that goes to the host campus where the students are actually hosted. All other tuition and fees go to Sussler. All course fees that are relative to a particular course that's offered by Sussler, and in this case with the cross-enrollment situation, the Dev Ed, English, and math would actually go to Sussler. Advisement, I believe with the freshman seminar, and I believe under the leadership of Dr. Zacchaeus Johnson, he works very closely with our person here, Ty Parker, who has taken on the interim leadership role for Connect until a permanent decision has been made about that. We work very closely with that area to ensure that students have the support that they need to be successful in the courses. And then finally, with the cross-enrollment piece, we've added a component, a lab component, where students get supplemental support through online laboratory lab on an individualized basis to ensure that they're successful.
Okay, thank you. Did that adequately address your concerns, Mr. Gillum?
Well, there was one other aspect. I'd like the other two campuses to possibly address, Mr. Chairman. Professor Leggett, before her leaving, used to talk to me. I think she was the point person for Shreveport with the Baton Rouge campus and the New Orleans campus. There were times when she would present horror stories in terms of facilitating classroom space here in Baton Rouge and office space and other counseling space. If you would, Mr. President, Dr. Sahab, or somebody from the other, or Dr. Ammons, in the other two campuses could speak to that, because I want to make sure this is right for the benefit of students.
Dr. Ammons?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Gillum. You know, first of all, let me say that this Chancellor Connect program is extremely important to the university system. It allows students to get an opportunity to experience the other campuses across the system. And, you know, I will say it, both SUBR as well as SUNO, we have put in place the We've put in place the, all right, we put in place all of the piece of our enrollment is extremely important for us in terms of giving us the opportunity to also recruit those students to stay at our institutions once they complete their degree at Chancellor. So it's very important to us, and we think it gives the students involved in Chancellor Connect the opportunities to experience both SUBR as well as SUNO.
Dr. Belton?
Let me just kind of echo the comments that have been made by my peers. I think the Chancellor Connect initiative is an opportunity for our university system to really leverage the benefits that come with being a university system. You know, for many years, it had been argued that although we're a system, we don't act like a system. You know, that we actually work independently of each other. But the Chancellor Connect program really provides a pathway for students to be able to enroll at any of our institutions in keeping with the variation that comes with admission standards. And so while it was initially established with a promise, I can tell you that it has grown and evolved as a reality for many students now. And more to your point, we have infused a lot of infrastructure into ensuring that students' experiences are successful on the Baton Rouge campus. And as you pointed out, there had been some challenges with facilities, with officers. Today, we will share with you our efforts in making sure that the Chancellor Connect program in and of itself is now housed in facilities that are state-of-the-art, that students have access to computer labs, that there's no challenge now in trying to identify classroom space for those students. And so, and they are wrapped now around a first-year experience that we think will be supportive of their efforts to matriculate and graduate in a timely manner. And so I think we've come a long way in terms of providing for students an environment to which they would ultimately enjoy success. And certainly the degree to which there is a renewed sense of working together at Chancellor, SUNO, and SUBR, I think that is really paying off to the betterment of both the Chancellor Connect program and the opportunity for students to cross-enroll amongst our institutions.
Does that address your, okay, thank you. Any other comments regarding items A through E? Seeing none, it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. We will take together items F and G. However, there will be very brief presentations by both Dr. Ellis and Dr. Belton. For item F, Dr. Ellis, and item G, Dr. Belton. Is there a motion? It's been moved by Mr. McGee. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Dr. Tarver. All right, Dr. Ellis on item F.
Again, good morning. Chancellor has taken an opportunity to create some efficiencies due to one retirement and one resignation. Our Vice Chancellor of Research, Institutional Effectiveness, and Sponsored Programs will be retiring the first week in January. We're taking that opportunity to transition 3 departments in her area to other areas. 2 of those departments will report to the Chief of Staff in the Chancellor's office, and 1 of those departments will report to the Human Resource area. This not only creates efficiency and ensures that we have a strategic direction that's consistent with the overall vision of the university, but also both changes will actually result in minor savings of about $70,000 for the campus. The other change is our Director of Financial Aid has resigned and taken another position. We've taken that opportunity to form a collaboration with admissions and financial aid and our Welcome Center in order to better service our students that are coming to campus. And this new collaboration, we believe, will ensure that as students are recruited, admitted, and enrolled, that the service that we provide them will be much greater.
All right. First, before we go to for Dr. Belton, item G, any questions or comments on item F? All right. Item G, Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Item G asks your consideration to adopt a reorganizational plan that establishes, if you will, the Division of Enrollment Management and Student Success. As you may recall, in the spring, the administration took the position that we should separate student affairs and identify a separate unit and or division that is entitled the Division of Enrollment Management and Student Success. What you have before you is a structure that will guide the goals and work of that division. It reflects vertical assignments that speak specifically to roles that will bring leadership to missions and recruitment, and a separate unit and or department that would offer students a first-year experience and would advance our goals as it relates to retention. Those organizational charts have been submitted to you in your packet, and therefore we request your favorable consideration.
All right, any questions regarding item G? Any questions? Hearing none, it's been moved and properly seconded that we approve items F and G. Is there any objection? Any objection? Hearing none, the items stand adopted. Next, members, we will, with your consideration, adopt items H through Q. H through Q. H through Q. All right, it's been moved by Mr. McGee. It's been seconded by Ms. Williams. Are there any questions or concerns on any item listed between item H and Q?
Yes, I have a few questions on
Mr. Garvey, I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you.
on H and K.
What would you like?
Several.
Okay, members, okay, if, okay,
it
okay,
keeps
just,
cutting off.
just 1 second. So again, if somebody turns their mic on, it's gonna cut him off. Okay. So please don't engage the mic until you're recognized. Thank you. Mr. Garvey.
Yes, as I'm appreciative of Chancellor's moving into the good faith of adopting a pandemic policy. When the board last month approved that Chancellor's had discretion, so I'm moving forward with good admirations in my Chancellor for making that position. Several students have concerns, and by adopting this policy, steps definitely mitigate some of the concerns that the students have in that regard. But more importantly, the exam policy is that what more concerns of what the students are, and moving in good faith with that in that regard. You know, I'm sure that we will make a great effort at the Law Center for us to do the betterment of the student body. And also, I wanted to speak on line item K. And this goes over for the whole Southern University system, just not specifically to the Law Center. So the request of approval for establishing a distant education learning fee. As I know that we have to, nothing in life is free. And we have a hard balance here as the board, as we balance what is feasible for the board and the systems in itself, and then what is feasible for the students in its entirety. And so, you know, when we're looking at, when we run it through and approving, you know, items that are on the board, you know, we have to always keep in mind with that, making sure that that also lines up with the strategic plan of what the university in itself. And so when we moving through and approving these agenda items, those are one of the things, me, myself, and I solely stayed on the board for the advocate of the student body. And so therefore I will always do such. And so by me saying that, you know, some of my questions are in regards to, you know, these fees that are increasing, you know, though they are necessary, what are the students getting back in return? And so that's what I always want to know, the cost-benefit analysis. Because if we increase these fees and the services still stay as such, then what are we actually doing with the money that we're actually collecting for these fees? And that's to speak volumes through all these universities. And those are my questions to, or rather comments that would foster some kind of conversation with the people who have approved or put these line items on agenda. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey. Dr. Belton, as the leader, now and I believe his concerns are regarding the fee outlined in item K, which cuts across all of our units with the exception of the Ag Center, or affects all of our units. Would you like to address why this fee is necessary, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Garvey, for the question. As late as last month, you may recall that we had a very engaging discussion about advancing our goals with regard to facilitating a modality where students can engage with the university online. And therein, we suggested to this board that for us to be able to do so, in keeping with it being an imperative for the system, that we had to identify a revenue stream to support it. And that really included, Mr. Garvey, not only ensuring that we have an ongoing revenue stream to support the technology that that lays the foundation for it, but the ability to market our programs, the wherewithal to ensure that we have the support services, albeit online, that would be made available to students to ensure their success as they engage with us online. The opportunity to identify external partners who would help us with regard to the recruitment of students and adult learners in particular who want to access the university, but for not an online platform would not be able, to do so. And so these funds are specific to providing for our stakeholders the opportunity to engage with Southern. And so I had a conversation the other day, and I said this, and I said that it's not just about, enrolling students, but it enables Southern University to advance our mission, and that is to touch students and ensure that they, by way of their relationship with us, that they become competitive, that they enjoy careers that are sustainable and competitive in this global marketplace. And so clearly, advancing online education is a necessity. If we do not, we become dinosaurs. We will not be a vibrant institution, but it does require resources that will be specific. Now, I want to be clear, this is specific to students who will be taking online classes. So it would not affect the general population of students who are not in online classes, but specific to those. And I would lastly say that we have benchmarked other institutions who have whose online platforms are supported through fees just like this, and our range is comparable to what other institutions are charging. I heard the public comment with regard to the Law Center, and I just want to clarify that the $100 fee is not per credit hour. It's a $100 fee per course. For the other three institutions, it is $30 per credit hour, but for the Law Center, it's $100 per course. I hope I answered your question.
To a certain degree, I believe, I guess my more specific question is a more broader sense that we'll probably just revisit again next month, that I would probably try to put it on the board add for the minutes myself to see a more inclusive of just how funding is going towards the strategic plan. How big are we trying to grow? How many students are we trying to get? All of that takes dollars, and I understand that. And again, if we're increasing fees in general, and not just this one. I'm not speaking in specific. I'm just speaking more so in a general statement. If we're going to increase fees for students, what is the return for the student? And that's really what I want to see.
Yeah, that's
and I think I think that's the overall standing. If we're increasing, what are the avenues? Are we building more? Are we building up the career services? Are we also getting our students more jobs that are not $30,000 and down? We're actually finding them in jobs that are 50 and 60, pushing them in that higher middle class level from when they leave this institution. And so those are the things that, if I as a student see fees, I would like to see. And I would agree that most of my comrades would think the same, is that if we're increasing fees, and I know it's necessary to do things too, but again, I would like some more transparency in how we're approving the budget for fees and just the involvement according to the strategic plan. And I think that's how we have to line up everything in regards to making it make sense to me, my comrades, and this institution as a whole. I'm very, very concerned that, we just kind of blanketly go through and improve fees, and there's really no real detail even within the agendas. It's still some holes missing, and so I would like to see something like that in that regards. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I recognize Mr. Amadi, I think what I hear Mr. Mr. Garvey saying is that he wants some continual feedback on this, and I join him in that request, Dr. Belton. And I would also like to request that in addition to taxing students for this, and we understand that our revenue streams are very defined and limited, but I would also respectfully request, Dr. Belton, that you reprioritize existing revenues here at the university to support this as well, because that is a clear demonstration of how important this particular program is to the university achieving success overall in its strategic plan, in its enrollment management space, and so forth and so on. Mr. Amadi.
I think I got it. Yeah, Mr. Garvey, I appreciate your, I think we all do, you battling for the students, and I think that's what our main goal is. But we sent a directive to the president last time, basically pretty strong, the chairman did, a couple meetings that I've been to, about the online learning, and it's not free. They got to recruit. There's so many things they got to do, and I think what Chairman Rutledge is asking for now, we'll find out it's going to take a lot more than $100 a class to make this program successful. And I think in the long run, it will help us get more students at the university, at all the campuses, which will eventually help everything. But we've all been students, most of us, and $100 is a lot. I mean, when I was in college, in law school, I got loans and everything like everybody else. So I do appreciate you being really nitpicky with the fees, because, you know, it used to be when I was in the legislature, oh, we can't go up on tuition because it costs the state money with TOPS. Well, let's just go up on the fees. So that's what everybody it was back and forth. So before long, if the state doesn't watch it, I mean, TOPS is going to be 50% of the tuition, basically, because you still got to pay the fees. But I just wanted to thank you and let you know that I think everyone is pushing in the same direction. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Thank you, Mr. Garvey. Any other comments on any items?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Gillum.
just one question. Mr. President, please, if you would. With the, let's see, the fees, will these fees be calculable to the cost of instruction for financial aid? In other words, could they be included in the cost of instruction for financial aid students, considering
Press your button again. He cut you off when
Okay.
he got ready.
Back
to
in?
speak.
Thank you. With the exception of the Law Center, of course, are these going to be calculable, hope I'm getting it right, as part of the cost of instruction for financial aid budgets?
Mr. Gilliam, they will be, and so they would be absorbed as incorporated as a part of a student's cost of attendance, and will be absorbed by whatever financial aid that students are eligible for.
Thank you. Any other comments? I see Mr. Vadrine, our Student Government Association president on the Baton Rouge campus here, and I want you to know that we are being very judicious about what impositions we place on students. And I know Dr. Belton and the leadership here, and I trust that other campuses have been very collaborative with our student leadership about this, about where we are financially and otherwise, such that you feel invested and have a full partnership in what we're doing. And so I want to thank you for your presence here today. Before we adopt items H through Q, Dr. Belton, would you speak to item I? I want to make certain that this person and her family gets due recognition, the awarding of the bachelor's degree posthumously to, is it Maisha Melton? That's item I.
Yes. Dr. Sahu, I know you have a more intimate appreciation of this acknowledgement. Would you do so?
Mr. President, my apologies, I was caught off guard. I was looking at my talking points for the Chancellor's report. Could you ask the question again, sir?
Will you speak to item I on the agenda, the posthumous awarding of the bachelor's degree to Maisha Melton? We want to make certain that
yes,
she and
sir.
her family are acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You know, this is going into our tradition of following process, firm and fair, but also be compassionate. So a request was made by the family to award the student posthumously this degree, and then we went to the registrar and the department did the review and found that she had transferred from one department to the other and to rehabilitation counseling, probably from nursing or education, and in the process had accumulated enough hours to qualify to be within the 75% or 9 hours towards graduation. Once the department approved that, it took a lot of back and forth. Then the dean approved it, and we in academic affairs made a recommendation to the president and through him to you, members of the board and Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. So, items H through Q, I believe, was moved by Mr. McGee and seconded by Ms. Williams. Is there any objection to the approval of items H through Q? H through Q. Hearing none, those items stand adopted. Okay, moving right along. Members, I'm going to request your consideration in global of items R through Y. However, there will be brief presentations on items R, S, and T by Dr. Belton, along with a brief presentation to item X. Moved by Mr. McGee. It's been seconded again by Ms. Williams. Very good. Now, we recognize Dr. Belton for items R, S, and T. And of course, to the extent there are questions about any item from a member on R through Y, we will facilitate that at your request. Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. This morning really gives me personally and on behalf of the university system the opportunity to request your consideration that would provide for our institutions to advance a salary adjustment on our respective campuses for all faculty and unclassified employees. This has been a matter that this board has really encouraged this administration to consider for a number of years, and through the leadership of several chairmen. Dr. Tarver, when he assumed leadership, Chair Lady Smith, as she advanced her goals as the chair of this board, and certainly in keeping with the administration of Chairman Rutledge, all have encouraged us and challenged us to find the resources to acknowledge faculty and staff who have committed greatly to advancing the goals of Southern University. I don't mind telling you, and most will say, that there's never a good time to advance a salary adjustment. But I want to as well acknowledge the chancellors for digging deep and identifying the resources to do so at this time. And so just to give you a snapshot of what these adjustments would entail, both at the Southern University system and the Baton Rouge campus, we are proposing, or we are asking your consideration to adopt a 3% across the board adjustment for all faculty and staff. The New Orleans campus is doing a similar rate at 3% across the campus. In the case of New Orleans, they are seeking to backdate these adjustments to October 1, in keeping with their fiscal year. For the Law Center, their aim is to advance the salary adjustment of 4% beginning December 1, and the Agriculture and Research and Extension Center will be doing so at a rate of 3.5%. Again, with the exception of New Orleans, all of these adjustments, with your endorsement, will take place December 1, where the faculty and staff will have the benefit of receiving these adjustments prior to Christmas of this year. The Southern University Shreveport campus, or action item S, is advocating for a one-time event salary adjustment that will take place December 1 of $500 per faculty and staff, but they also are submitting a request to engage in market-based adjustments for segments of the university community that would take place in February of 2021. And as I speak to all of these adjustments, the chancellors have given indication that they have the resources to support these increases. A learned colleague and mentor of mine told me many years ago that a budget is symbolic of where your priorities are. And so while this may be a challenge for all of us, we've made the commitment to align our actions with our values. And certainly at this particular time, acknowledging those who have endured, if you will, particularly this last year as we've wrestled with the pandemic. We've asked much of faculty and staff, and certainly we think that this is a time to acknowledge them as well. With regard to action item T, then, we further ask your consideration to adopt this step that would, at the end of the day, and one of the things we've been trying to do for some time now is to be able to say to this board and to members of this community that no employee that works for Southern University is paid less than $10 an hour. And that is not the case now for a number of our civil service employees. And so we have been very diligent in identifying not only those employees who work under that rate, but also recognizing that if we're able to do so, that we have to do incremental changes for civil service employees in accordance with the increases that we're talking about. We're prepared to do that, but we first need your endorsement, and then we would seek approval from the Civil Service Board to ratify these adjustments. But if we are successful, again, we would be in a position to declare that no employee within the Southern University system, civil service and or unclassified staff makes less than $10 an hour.
Thank you, Dr. Belton. Well, this represents a good start, and I'm certain this will be welcomed by faculty and staff throughout the system. Board members, are there any questions, concerns, observations regarding items R through Y? Mr. Fondale.
Thank you. I do want to say that over the years, the administration has been working toward putting ourselves in a position where we can actually take care of our employees with certain pay raises. And I am encouraged by what the administration is doing, and I want to commend our chancellors also on the effort that's been put. As we know, over the years, we've been challenged to get to a point to where we can even be able to get to being able to give raises here at the university, especially to our professors and our support staff that are here. So I just want to commend our chancellors and the administration on a long process that's taken us a long time to get to, but we finally gotten there. And to all of our employees that are tuned in, be it here
up in New Orleans, down in New Orleans and up in Shreveport. We've been working hard to get to this point, and I just want to say that I totally support it.
Thank you, Mr. Fondale. Any other observation? Mr. Garvey?
I'm actually in favor of what Mr. Fondale said as well. I just keep, when you were talking, President Belton, it just reminded me of Luke 12:48. Too much is given, much is expected. And so if we are to pay these professors as they are, student body expect what we're paying for them. And so I move forward to doing such, because if paying your faculty and your staff, and you bring up the morale and you give them the willingness to do their all. And so thus they have an ample turn feedback with the students. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? There is one comment that we've received electronically that's germane to this item from the SUNO campus, Dr. Mustafa Elasar. The salary increases at SUNO fail to address the injustice in salaries and salary equity. We have professors earning assistant professor salaries for years. In the past, Dr. Belton promised to do a salary study and to resolve these injustices, but he did not fulfill his promise. Any other questions? Items R through Y. Any other observations, board members? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any objection to the adoption of the items? Hearing none, the items stand adopted. Members, if you would, bear with us for just one moment. Although item X has been adopted, Dr. Belton has requested that he be permitted to do a short PowerPoint on item X. Dr. Belton?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, I appreciate your indulgence this morning. I recall just a few board meetings ago, the chair made a statement.
So it's my fault that this item is
That's
being
exactly right.
presentation.
But the chair, you may recall, made a statement that said, that he welcomed everyone to our first face-to-face board meeting and alluded to the fact that much is occurring, but no one is aware of it because we haven't been engaged with one another. And so I thought it prudent that we just kind of give you a snapshot of some ongoing capital projects that's happening on the Baton Rouge campus specifically. And so I've invited Mr. Huey Lawson, who will be accompanied by Mr. Kelsey Ware, to just kind of give you a pictorial, if you will, of those projects to which we're bringing leadership to, and which we hope to bring to fruition as the year unfolds. Mr. Huey.
Good morning, everyone.
Dr. Lawson, I'm sorry.
Good morning. I'm Huey Lawson. I direct the Title III programs here at Southern University and A&M College at Baton Rouge. And in so doing, I work very closely with members of the Facilities Planning Office, Mr. Eli Guillory, Facilities Operation, which includes Mr. Ware and Mr. Pitts and his staff. We've got a number of projects going on. Rather than read to you each through these slides, I think we can get through all of them in about 8 minutes. But we're going to have to speed the architect up when he comes up to start talking, okay? So Title III has spent over $1 million since January improving capital facilities on the Baton Rouge campus. You can move to the next slide. This is a list of some of the buildings we've worked on within the last year. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to go fast. And Stewart Hall, slow down a little bit.
Yeah,
okay. Stewart Hall has undergone a major renovation from top to bottom, inside as well as externally. That building houses our teacher education program as well as the program where freshman students or the first year experience will be housed. So we want everybody's first impression of the university to be one of wow. And as some of the renovations that you'll see that's happened in that building, if you were a student like me a couple of years ago, you go in there by the end of December, the 1st of January, we want your response to be wow. Next slide, please. That building's been painted. It's got accent and security lights around it. That's a night view. So you can imagine what it looks like in the daytime. Next slide. The old auditorium that some of us sat in, did registration in, the new one below it. Next. Hallways, totally changed. Next. Classrooms, now modern. The Chancellor Connect program is also housed in this particular space. Can we go to the next slide? Southern University's Department of Music is in the process of constructing a state-of-the-art recording studio that will be in the top 5 of recording studios in the South. Can we look at the next one? That's what the interior rendering of that looks like. We expect construction to start within the next 60 to 90 days. In addition to developing the recording studio, it's being done part and parcel with the relooking of the music degree programs. They're looking to expand to music technology degree options, which make those music arts degrees much more marketable in today's environment. Can we look at the next slide, please? This is a project that was done a little over a year ago, but we're establishing learning resource labs, which identify spaces for student collaboration, as well as student isolation and concentration. In the top slide, you see the tables. Each of those tables has power adapters in it. One of the things we've learned is students live off power these days. They've got to plug in their devices.
Everybody lives on power.
Absolutely. So they don't have to hunt for it. The little cubicles that you see there are comfortable. They've got footstools, but again, they're inundated with power, so students stay connected. And we've created environments where students would rather be there hanging out and studying and collaborating and working together than just hanging out. Can we look at the next slide, please? Again, that's a little bit closer view of that concentration area. We also have tutoring rooms associated with this facility as well. Next slide. The new science building is one that we're able to initiate with some Title III funds to foster the initial programming. Can we look at the next slide? This is a rendering of what we expect to be placed directly across from TTL Lane and across from J.B. Moore Hall on the corner where the Engineering Architecture West building used to be. It's been demolished. We're really excited about this, and I have to apologize to Dr. Belton because when we first started thinking and talking about this, I was up late at night. I sent him a text. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And he replied about 5 o'clock that morning. And I said, what do you think about a new science complex? His response was, that's a good idea. Let me think about it. Well, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have my glasses on. And so all I saw was it was a good idea. And so we got on the phone and started calling folks. But the good thing is we've got a $48 million capital outlay approved in priority 1 for planning and I think priority 3 or 4 for construction. So we expect this to become a reality in the very near future. Next slide, please. That's an interior rendering of that space as provided. Next. The Southern University in Baton Rouge Campus Information Center is a program that's long overdue, and I think Dr. Tarver will agree with me. But that program is, that facility, next slide, is currently out for bid. It'll be housed in the historic district adjacent to the Southern University Museum of Art and near the Army ROTC buildings. Next slide. Another project that initiated with facilities planning, but we found was crucial to our campus evolving and being accessible to everyone. And next slide. So new building signage will be placed with all major buildings throughout the campus. One of the new things you'll notice is we've got the campus's logo appearing on all signs in a manner of consistency, but new, never seen before, are street addresses for every single building on campus. This will allow any individual to go to any of these buildings simply by putting the address in a GPS system. Thank you. Next. Our library experienced some damage a few years ago, and we've taken the opportunity to reinvent that space into what modern libraries are starting to look like. Next slide. The result is research and collaborative learning spaces, similar to those learning resource centers that we talked to you about a little bit earlier. We want to have environments where students want to be there. Their preference is to be somewhere comfortable, somewhere they can create, collaborate, and interchange scholarly ideas. Next slide. And then we've got a number of projects that are in the planning stage. We've got architects starting to look at them. We're flushing out what the final details would look like, and we'll talk a little bit about a couple of those that we expect to be showing you renderings and photos of within the near future. Next. This includes the Center for Innovation and Teaching Excellence on the 4th floor of the library. We've talked about being active in the distance and online learning community. That's going to happen if we have teaching professionals that are well prepared and well trained with this new methodology, this new modology, and current pedagogy needed to meet the needs of those students and deliver the value added for that investment you're making. So we expect this to happen. Next. Many of you, as students, if you were students at Southern University, spent some time in T.H. Harris Hall. This is not necessarily a final rendering of this space, but we've got a long walkway and breezeway that's open air. We noticed that this building did not have a lobby or a student study area. It houses the program of the English program. But also adjacent and connected to this space is the registrar's office, the bursar's office, the financial aid office, admissions. So the idea of closing in the space creates a lobby waiting area that keeps students out of the elements. And again, the goal is to provide conducive places where students want to learn. Next. We're also working on some access issues. One of the things we've learned is students in wheelchairs have difficulty navigating many portions of the campus because of the status of the roadways. So as a result, we're going to overlay and expand many parking lots throughout the campus. One of the first ones that we expect to get started or be completed by mid-March is the parking lot behind Nursing, Pinchback, and the Honors College. You think the students in Nursing, Pinchback, and the Honors College were excited about this, right? They were. So was the AD. Next slide. Again, similar access issue with the roadway behind Stewart Hall, and let me date myself, I'm not sure what the new name of the dorm is, but in the old days, that was South Hall. Next slide. And we're doing street overlays. We've overlaid much of Jesse Stone. We stopped when we ran out of money. That project will pick up right after the students leave in a couple weeks. Next. We're going to do some things with issues with potholes on Swan Street next. And at this point, I'm going to let Kirsty come in and talk about those non-Title III projects.
Okay, good morning, everybody. First project we'll talk about is the new campus master plan. It's been a while since we updated our master plan to the Baton Rouge campus, so this is being done in order to do so, and it's a plan that's going to be done in cooperation with the Scotlandville surrounding community as well, and we'll lay out the future of the campus in doing so. Next slide. Now this nice rendering is to be located at the entry to Southern University, Harding and Scenic. Right now, you drive down Scenic and you just see, well, that overpass goes to Southern. So this will give us a landmark entry at our main entry to the campus. Next slide. That's just another bird's eye view of that entry as we enter onto Southern University's Baton Rouge campus. Next slide. And we'll get into the system foundation projects at this time. Next slide. Okay, one of the major projects at the foundation and for the university is the addition of student apartments here on the main campus. Next slide. We'll have freshman apartments and also upper class student apartments. Dormitories are nowadays obsolete, so the students are looking for apartments as they enter into college at this time. Next slide. And this is just a floor plan layout of the new freshman apartments, which will be located on the back, what we call back of the campus in the residential area. Next slide. This is a site map of the campus, and you see the yellow star up on the front part of the campus, which is where the upperclassmen housing would be located. Next slide. And that's just a site layout and floor plan layout of the upper class student apartments. Next slide. What we have here is work that is actually currently being done, and those buildings are Architecture West, Jones Hall, and Lottie Anthony Hall. They're being demolished. Jones is gone, and Architecture West is gone. The site of the old Architecture West building is, like Mr. Lawson said earlier, that will be the site of our new science building facility. Next slide. This is a photo of what used to be the temporary bridge at E.C. Harrison as it leads you back towards the residential area of the campus. Right now that project is currently underway, and hopefully by maybe mid-spring we'll have a new entry to the back where that old bridge used to be. Next slide. Now this is an access road and pedestrian way located off of Mills Avenue on the far north side. This road was put in as a temporary but permanent access to the rear of the campus while the bridge is out. And the good part about it is we get a brand new road once the bridge is back in, and we'll have a true, real access to our back side of the campus, which gives us another in and out from the Baton Rouge campus. Next slide. This is actually reality. Looks like a rendering, but this is our campus brand. Our mini dome or F.G. Clark Center recently underwent ADA renovations, and as a part of that, Mr. Guillory, spearheading the project, was able to secure our brand on top of the mini dome roof. So as you come across the overpass now, you don't just see a blank, empty white roof of a building. You actually see Southern University. Next slide. So that concludes our presentation at this time. We're open for questions if there should be any.
Members, any questions?
Can I add one more thing?
I'm sorry, one more thing.
one of the things that we can't not do is thank those members of the university community that make this thing a reality. And it starts with Dr. Belton and his leadership and the team he's put together. Notice you've got several different programs, several different funding sources, but we're working together as one harmonious unit, and that happens because of leadership. So we want to thank him for that. But I'd also like to thank all of those units and all of those leaders for making this a reality, and especially those unsung heroes. Folks don't realize it, but this doesn't happen without a purchasing department. And our purchasing department has been awesome. It doesn't happen without back office folks in the controller's office. So it takes a team effort, and so I appreciate everybody on that team, and we appreciate the leadership provided.
Thank you. This is a very good.
And we appreciate Kesty.
Yes, we
even though he's an architect.
We appreciate everybody in this Mutual Admiration Society. But listen, one of the things you mentioned about potholes, does that also include the potholes around the F.G. Clark Activity Center?
Yes and no. One of our challenges with the funding sources that we've been using is it's got to be focused around academic areas and academic accessibility. And so we've got to remain compliant to the use of the funding.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about that for a while, but as you can appreciate it, there are many individuals who come on this campus and never get beyond the activity center, either for a graduation, a basketball game, a concert, or whatever is going on. And that, you almost need a heavy-duty pickup truck in some areas around there to get around. And so, Dr. Belton, okay, that needs to be addressed. Thank you. Any questions from board members? Mr. Gillum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to commend, too, the administration, purchasing department, Mr. Lawson, Mr. Architect, Mr. Eli Guillory, and all of those who are associated with making this kind of infrastructure a reality. But I'm going back in the back of my mind, it's huge, and it's much needed, long overdue. Thank you very much for it. My question and concern is simply this. As I appreciate it, I believe the city parish government here is operating under a disparity study. It was done by one of the most preeminent firms in doing that study in the country, Keen Research Independent Research, I believe. My gist is this. It would allow you to involve minority businesses more in these projects. My concern is here we are, we sit with the preeminent engineering school, preeminent architecture school, I would say in the world. I want to make sure that these MBEs, these minority business enterprises, these women business enterprises, on and on and on, veteran enterprises. I think I see Mr. Guillory kind of honking down over there. I'm not going to bother you this time around. But my idea is, I'd like for somewhere, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, to quantify the involvement of those particular elements. Quantify. I know it's always good to say, well, we're doing a good job, but, you know, in Shreveport, Caddo Parish, we don't have it. We don't have a good disparity study. So we deal with what's called aspirational goals. We get challenged in court, we get defeated. The disparity study here in your city parish would allow you to involve it. That's the gist. I wanted to bring that up.
I'd like to add that minority business participation is something I'm passionate about. And I'm very pleased to say that for probably 80 to 90% of these projects, and I'd probably say 90+% of the Title III related projects, our design professionals have been minorities. And wherever possible, we've structured contracts for contractors where, again, 80, 90% are minority businesses. So we're right with you on that.
Makes me happy.
All righty. Thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation, and thank you, members. Okay, we are moving right along. We are on item Z, and we are going to stay in this room, members, for the executive session, okay? So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Appropriate notice has been given, written notice has been given to Dr. Belton, and he agrees to entertain the discussion regarding his evaluation in executive session.
Motion.
It's been moved by Mr. Bartholomew and seconded by Mrs. Smith. This motion does require a roll call. Dr. Belton.
Roll call. Attorney Rutledge?
Yes.
Reverend Tolbert? Attorney Armony? Mr. Bartholomew? Dr. Davis? Mr. Fondell? Dr. Gaines? Mr. Garvey? Mr. Gilliam? Mr. Hilliard? Attorney McGee? Attorney Shorty? Mrs. Smith? Dr. Tarver? Dr. Whitfield? Ms. Williams? You have a quorum, sir.
Well, the motion is approved.
It
to
is
go
a
in
motion.
exec-
I'm sorry.
Executive session. Members, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, and others, if you're not a board member, will you please Session, no motions were made, nor were any votes taken. The chair will now entertain a motion to return into open session. It's been moved by Mr. McGee, seconded by Dr. Tarver. Is there any objection to returning into open session? Can I do it in, like that, Madam Lawyer, or do I need to do a roll call to go back in? Okay. Okay. Is there any objection to returning to open session? Hearing none, we return to open session. I want to, on behalf of our board, Dr. Belton, congratulate you for an outstanding evaluation. The board, I believe, has acknowledged not only the work that you have done as the leader, but we do know that it's a team effort. And so we congratulate you and your staff throughout the system. Okay, we will go now to item AA. I guess this is ZAA. Request to officially name the Southern University at New Orleans Museum of Art. You want to speak to this very briefly, Dr. Ammons? Yes, sir. We can do AA and BB and Global. So, Dr. Ammons, if you'll speak to AA, and Dr. Ellis, if you'll speak to BB.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Museum of Art at Southern University at New Orleans, the physical facility will be completed, we think, at the end of this calendar year. It has been long in the making. A number of relationships and networks have endured for a number of years, and now it's culminating into having an actual facility. And so we're asking the board to approve the name of Southern University at New Orleans Museum of Art. A number of donors and supporters, Dr. Tarver, have supported this initiative. Our museum studies program, the faculty in the program have worked tirelessly.
You say Dr. Tarver supported it? Well, that goes my vote. You can go ahead and wrap up now.
And so, Mr. Chairman, with that, we ask your approval and that of the board to name the museum the Southern University at New Orleans Museum of Art.
Thank you. Dr. Ellis on item BB.
Okay, and again, good morning. Item BB references two parking lots behind our Metro campus where we currently have parking for faculty, staff, and students. Because of age and recent construction, the parking lot has been damaged to some extent. In addition to that, with new buildings in the area, there's been an influx of parking in that space after hours and on the weekend. And so we have partnered with an outside entity that will repave those areas on our behalf, as well as manage evening and weekend parking services, whereby we can enter into a 50-50 split of the net profit for those parking services during the evening and on the weekend.
All righty. Thank you. It's been moved. Any questions, comments?
The initial agreement is 3 years, and then subsequent to that, it's approved on an annual basis.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, is there any objection to the adoption of items ZAA, and BB? Seeing none, hearing none, the item stands adopted. We now recognize Dr. Williams for our resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll first begin with commendations. The Southern University System would like to commend Congressman Cedric Wichman on his outstanding service as the representative for Louisiana's 2nd District and on accepting a position in President-elect Biden's administration. So we certainly wish Congressman Richmond the best in his new position. Our condolences go to the Augustine Hanj Inyika family Dr. Augustine was an alumnus of Southern University in Baton Rouge, where he graduated with honors and earned a BS degree in plant and soil science. He passed away on October 24, 2020. Condolences are also extended to Mr. Clifton Smith Jr. family. Mr. Clifton Smith Jr. was affectionately known as BB. He was a graduate of Baker High School and Southern University at Baton Rouge in elementary education. He passed away on November 15, 2020. Condolences are also extended to the Elder Bessie B. Vaughn family. Elder Bessie Bynum Vaughn was a New Orleans native and distinguished educator within the Catholic Charity School System. She was the president of Southern University at New Orleans alumni. She passed away on November 7th, 2020. Condolences are also extended to Ms. Brittany Alexandria Ware. Ms. Ware graduated from Southern University with a bachelor's degree in psychology in 2008. After graduating, she attended Southern University Law School, where she graduated in May of 2012 with her Juris Doctorate. She passed away on November 8th, 2020. Condolences are also extended to Ms. Karen Williams' family. I'm sorry, Mr. Karen Williams. Karen was a 1989 graduate of Southern University Laboratory School and an employee in the housing department at Southern University of Baton Rouge. And he passed away on November 14th, 2020. Our final condolences to the Elvin A. Sterling family. Mr. Elvin Sterling graduated from Southern Baton Rouge, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Accounting. Additionally, during his matriculation at Southern University, he served as the Student Government Association president. Upon receiving his bachelor's degree, he attended the Southern University Law Center, where he also served as president or SBA president. He was a proud member of the Southern University Alumni Federation and a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He's a dear friend of mine and passed away on November 11th. I also want to take just a moment to acknowledge the Southern University family for the kindness and thoughtfulness in showing love and support to the Elvin Sterling family, and also to the SGA students who passed a proclamation that they named their annual scholarship in memory of Elvin Sterling. Mr. Chair, that concludes our resolutions and commendations for November 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Are there any additions? Any additions? Hearing none, is there a motion? Moved by Mr. McGee, seconded by Dr. Whitfield. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, you against it? Hearing none, the resolution stand adopted. Thank you. Informational items, Dr. Belton.
Well, time has been well spent this morning, and in just this season of Thanksgiving, I feel compelled to again thank members of this board for your unselfish service to Southern University. You know, many years ago, or it feels like years ago, that when I came to Southern, there was a tendency for people to ask me a question. The question was, what are you going to do to save Southern? And I said, well, first of all, I don't think Southern needs saving, but the degree to which we are able to push out our goals and our agenda will depend upon the degree to which we could all work together. And that included members of the Federation, our alums, our advocates and supporters, our faculty and staff, and members of the administration. And I think this university benefits from some individuals with tremendous talent. And I want to indeed thank them for their leadership and for their investment in our institution. And again, just say how much I appreciate your service as members of this board as we, again, together move this enterprise forward in keeping with the lofty aspirations we have as depicted in our strategic plans. So thank you again, members, for your tremendous service to our institution.
Thank you. We'll go to our Chancellor reports, Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Chancellor's report is included in your packet. There is one thing that I want to highlight. In fact, it's not in there because we were just notified of this recently. But New Orleans native and former NFL quarterback Peyton Manning will be joined by other sports icons, PGA golfer Phil Mickelson, Basketball Hall of Famer Charles Barkley, and Golden State Warriors superstar Stephen Curry in the Capital One's The Match, Champions for Change, in an exhibition golf match on Friday, November 27th at the Stone Canyon Golf Club in Oro Valley, Arizona. As a part of this exhibition, Southern University at New Orleans has been selected to receive an endowed scholarship. That scholarship is going to be named in honor of Dr. Artis Davenport, the legendary trike coach at SUNO. Dr. Davenport was named to the named National Coach of the Year 4 times by the NAIA. He won championships in track and field, cross country in both the NCAA and the NAIA. And he was also inducted into the Halls of Fame of the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association, as well as the All-State Sugar Bowl Hall of Fame. The amount of this scholarship, which is 6 figures, would be announced after the match on November 27th. But I want to thank Al Harrell and his team, Ms. Terry Brayton, who is the program director here at the Southern University System Foundation, and Ms. Laverne Toombs, University Advancement at SUNO, for collaborating in securing this endowment. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Dr. Ellis.
Well, the Chancellor's report for Susler is included. I want to again acknowledge and congratulate the new chair or continuing chair, Attorney Rutledge, and new vice chair, Attorney Shortage, on your selection today. And I look forward to working with you in this upcoming year under the leadership of my supervisor, Dr. Ray Belton, and just look forward to 2021 after such a, I guess, unpleasant but very difficult 2020. A couple things just I wanted to note. One, we had a coronation the other night. I know that a number of you would usually have been there, but under the circumstances, we could not be, but it was a lovely event for Ms. Susler. We also have embarked upon an executive leadership initiative for campus, upcoming campus leadership, and a number of folks have taken part of that opportunity. We believe is a very important part of our vision to grow leaders within. And so that Executive Leadership Institute started in October and will continue over the next 6 months. We also partnered with Grambling Shreveport Arts Council to have what was called a homecoming for the arts. And basically, we acknowledged a number of alumni who are participating in the arts field. As we look at our programs, we hear a lot about high-wage, high-demand jobs, but there are a number of alumni who have entered in the field of arts who are doing some amazing things either locally or nationally, and we recognize them as part of our homecoming. And then finally, I want to recognize Dr. Melville Williams. Few of us get this opportunity, but on last night, she was given an opportunity to be honored as one of 3 community leaders in the nation as part of the Clinton Foundation's annual gala, and that's a monumental acknowledgement. That concludes my report.
Thank you, and please extend our congratulations on behalf of our entire board to Dr. Williams for such a distinguished honor and recognition. I hope you are brief, Dr. McMean, so we can skip Chancellor Pierre, who's not in the Dr. McMean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to you and Attorney Shorty for your new
Thank you.
appointments. Also, I want to extend a thank you to the entire board for approving the salary increases, not only for the Ag Center, for the system for individuals who I believe richly deserve it. And thank you, Dr. Belton, for your continued leadership. I would like to first start, one of the top priorities I had and when I came on campus was to make sure we get the sufficient funding to continue renovations at A.O. Williams Hall. I'm happy to inform you that this week Crump Wilson Architects won a bid for the designer of the east wing. The west wing of A.O. Williams, we already had resources to finish and complete that process, and now we have the additional $4 million that was appropriated last session. So we are underway with the hopes that in the fall to the hopefully the summer, but it may be the fall, we'll be able to move into the east wing, and they are separated by ducts and HVAC. So we're excited about that because we also, thanks to the leadership of the system, I was able to get resources for Fisher Hall, which definitely needs said renovations. And so since we occupy so much of that facility, we need to vacate that one so those renovations can go parallel. I also want to thank Chancellors Ammons and Ellis. We're trying something unique. I feel that it is imperative that the Southern University Extension be a part of the entire system. So thanks to their approval and working with me and my extension leadership, we will have extension agents located on both campuses. So this not only will be an opportunity for us to have connectedness with our central and statewide outreach entity, but it would also offer an opportunity for us to, I would say indirectly, recruit students. For instance, our agent in New Orleans worked with K through 12, and she herself is a STEM major. So we are excited about it, and I thank the both of you, and I think it will be a mutually beneficial relationship for both. And since you made your earlier comments, I'll leave out the third piece of that, and this concludes my report.
You can add it. He just walked back in the room. Your colleagues have been quite brief, Chancellor Pierre. No pressure.
You have our report, and I have nothing to add.
Very good. Dr. Sahu.
Thank you so much. That puts pressure on me. Mr. Chairman, Attorney Rutledge, and Attorney Shorty, congratulations. We're pledged to work with you and work tirelessly to advance the mission of this university and mission of this campus. And thank you, President Belton, for the opportunity to serve. I want to highlight something that is not there in your package, but will provide you details. 2 of our students I just came to know yesterday have been recognized. It's only out of 20 competitive, selection process. 20 students were, many students are nominated, but 2 of our students have been selected by IBM for a $10,000 fellowship or scholarship in computer science by IBM, Vaishnavi Kasala and Amreen Syed. I want to let the president know and let you know and congratulate the faculty in their selection and their preparation. Briefly highlighting what's there in your packet, on Google on October 14th, announced the Grow with Google HBCU Career Readiness Program and contributed $1 million to the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and we are one of the first HBCUs to partner in this effort, and I can assure you that this is going to help in terms of career readiness and more placement in the 4-star, 3-star jobs, that in terms of our strategic priorities or imperatives that we say we want to retain, graduate, and then place our students. The university received close to $500,000 to renovate the archives. So the National Park Service recently announced this grant, and it was awarded to 18 historically black colleges and universities. The structure is part of the Southern University National Historic District on the bluff on the Mississippi River. Southern University Elementary Teacher Prep Program was named as one of the top in the nation. And Southern University, the undergraduate elementary teacher preparation program has been named among the top in the country by the National Council of Teacher Quality, a nonpartisan, not-for-profit research and policy organization. Southern program stands out as among only 33 traditional elementary programs that earn a grade of A. Southern University also is one of the first HBCUs to partner with Google on more focused digital skills training. Google Career Readiness Program, a new initiative to help black students at historically black colleges and universities, will prepare to enter the workforce through digital skills. An additional $1 million investment is earmarked by Google, and we are one of the partnering institutions. This concludes my reports, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sahu. We go now to other business, just 2 items, 2 matters, members. One, I want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. Based on my discussion with Dr. Belton, unless something comes up on that requires some emergency meeting, we do not plan to have a meeting in the month of December. And I also want to remind you that Election Day is December the 5th. There is only one constitutional amendment on the ballot on December the 5th, and it's related to the membership of higher education boards. Senator Fields, who authored this legislation, worked collaboratively with the leadership of the higher ed systems throughout the state. And what it essentially does is allow for a non-resident of the state of Louisiana, an alum of an institution or someone who is affiliated with the institution, to serve on a higher education board. So we certainly encourage you to take a look at that amendment, and by all means vote on December the 5th. Mr. Bartholomew. You need to turn your mic on, sir. Thank you.
Could the president give us an overview about the baseball coach? What's going on with that? Do you know anything what we have read?
No, I really cannot speak to it. We're aware of an offer. We've made a counter offer, and at this point, I cannot give you an update on it.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.